Hey, Julie, how are you today?
Doing well. Thanks for having me.
No, it's my pleasure as always. Thanks for coming in. And, you know, we're sort of counting down the days until the Obama administration is in the past tense. But as they're walking out the door, Julie, no shortage of lectures for the American people on the way out, right?
I know.
You've got a piece at National Review right now on Michelle Obama treating Americans like we are her kids.
Yes. I'm sure many of your listeners and viewers saw the interview, or maybe they didn't, maybe they turned off the TV, but saw the interview that Michelle Obama did with Oprah Winfrey, right? And Oprah said, do you think that your husband's administration reached its goal of hope and change? And Michelle Obama said, yes. And then her next statement was, because now we know how it feels to have no hope. And of course, she was referring to the election of President Trump, or President-elect Trump. And so that was offensive enough. And she did receive some criticism for that because, I mean, the idea, the narcissism on display there, right? That the only way that the American public feels hope is if the Obamas are in the White House. I mean, that's some pretty raw narcissism right there. But I actually suggested that it was the next commentary, the next statement that the First Lady made that was really newsworthy, and that was, and I don't know if you have my piece in front of you. I'm going to paraphrase.
Yeah,
here.
you want me to quote it?
Yeah,
I'll quote it if you want. Our children respond to crises the way they see us respond. You know, it's like the toddler that bumps his head on the table and they look up at you to figure out whether it hurts. And if you're like, oh my God, they're crying. But if you're like, you know what, babe, it's okay.
Hey.
And I feel that way about the nation. I feel that Barack has been that for the nation, having a grown up in the White House who can say to you in times of crisis and turmoil, hey, it's going to be okay.
Okay. When you lose
don't freak out, little
when
American baby.
When you lose your job and there's terrorist attacks, okay, just don't show any emotion. It's gonna be okay. And that really, I mean, I will tell you there's two things. That amounts to, that perfectly summarizes the Obama administration policy on a lot of things. There's no actual action or actually doing things or solving problems or getting out of the way of small business. It was just, it's okay. It's going to be okay. It's all this sort of cool act with nothing backing it up. So that was one point that I made. But the other point that I made is this kind of idea that we're all toddlers and they need to reassure us that we need constant confidence building and reassurance and petting and soothing words. I mean, I found it completely condescending and really a sort of snapshot. It revealed how they view the American public and that she's really worried about her children. As she leaves the White House, she lets them go free, nudges them out of the nest, you know, and she worries about our future. Like we can't take care of ourselves. Or again, that we, you know, without Obama, helming the ship, that we're all in a lot of trouble. So again, it was very, I think, revealing of how the Obama administration and how the Obamas themselves view the American public.
This was my favorite part of your column. You say, like many parents who are suddenly shocked at their child's teenage rebellion, Michelle Obama appears surprised to learn that her kids, i.e. the American public, have interests and ideas very different from her own. For instance, some of her kids genuinely disliked being told how to eat and live. Some bristled at having their choices limited and being forcefully nudged to eat this way or that. Many balked when government bureaucrats told them how to parent their own children. They slammed the door on all the unsolicited advice about their personal choices. In fact, most Americans don't like the federal government treating them like children at all.
Right.
And yet, by the way, spot on, Julie. But they can't get past that, right?
No.
This is their natural inclination to treat their fellow Americans as if they are children who have to be nudged and, you know, in some cases pampered, in some cases, chided and grounded. I'm sure Michelle Obama would love to have grounded the American people for the way they cast their vote in this election, right? Go to your room.
Absolutely.
You don't deserve these nice things.
Yeah.
And how fascinating is it, by the way, that yes, she says Barack Obama achieved that goal of hope and change, but apparently it was all temporary, right? Because as you said, now it's gone now. So did he really achieve that, or as you say, was it just again the inability to actually recognize that not everybody thinks the way you do. And it doesn't automatically make them deplorable. It doesn't automatically make them an enemy of America and all that is good and great about this country. They have different experiences. They have not lived the life that you, Michelle Obama, have lived. And they have different opinions.
Yeah.
They have different desires and wants and needs than the First Lady of the United States does.
Yeah, I mean, you just want her and Meryl Streep to get together and cry, have a good cry.
No, I don't. No. Oh, okay.
I'm sure they have gotten together. They're probably on the phone.
I'm sure.
They're probably on the phone right now.
Well, no, I thought Meryl Streep was at that late-night White House party.
Oh, right. I'm sure she was. Yeah, I didn't get the list because, I wasn't there. But
yeah.
Somehow my invitation got lost in the mail. That's so weird. Anyway.
Well, look, you got to be productive. You stayed home. You wrote a piece about patriarchal salad.
That's right.
For Acculturated. So you didn't need to go to the White House party till 4 o'clock in the morning.
Right. No, I didn't.
This, by the way, this is when life imitates the onion. Which also, I guess, onions are good on salad sometimes. This is an honest-to-goodness headline from Julie Gunlock. Western feminists discover the new tool of the patriarchy, salad.
That's right.
Really?
That's right.
Salad is a tool of the patriarchy?
So,
I don't like salad. I would be considered, I guess, part of the patriarchy, but I'm anti-salad for the most part.
No, you're not. No, you're not. You live on a farm, for goodness sake. You're not anti-salad. Look.
I'm pro-bacon.
The thing is, if you poll women, most women in this country do not identify with the term feminism, right? They just think it's kind of been hijacked. And it has. And if you need proof of this, you need look no further than this column that was written in a online publication called Courts. I don't remember the woman's name who wrote it, but she writes this piece about essentially about how salad is used as this tool of the patriarchy to keep women down. And what was so interesting is, so I read this piece and I thought it was going to be kind of a tongue-in-cheek piece about how salad is kind of annoying. And I mean, look, I eat salad every single day, and I talk about it in my piece, how I eat kind of the same lunch every day, it's boring salad. And what's so interesting is that this woman claims that I am being forced to eat salad because, I want to keep a certain shape or I want to look good for society, right? But what's interesting is, and then she talks about how women need to sort of let go and just eat what they want, right? But actually, my eating salad is, I think it illustrates my healthy relationship with food, that I just kind of don't care. I need to sit down, eat something quickly. I eat the same thing every day. I don't agonize about it. And not every food experience has to be this sort of epic, Michelin star experience. I just want to eat something quickly and move on with my day. And so, in fact, I think it's actually, her piece goes more into why women choose salad and why women, but again, let's back this up a little bit. Just the idea, okay, so in the beginning of my piece, I go and talk about how violence against women around the world, okay, is up. Like, we've got some really serious problems going on around the world. And the reason that Western feminists have become a laughingstock, and as I mentioned earlier, the reason most women don't identify with the feminist movement or the term feminism is because they're a laughingstock. They focus on salad, not the actual problems and actual crimes against women around the world. So that's sort of a quick synopsis of that piece.
I like the fact that you use the phrase salad experts in your piece. Are there actual salad experts?
Well, I talk about how, I mentioned earlier how
Paul Newman, I suppose, right? He's a dressing expert.
Well,
but
I don't know. I'm sure there's a lettuce grower you could ask. But the thing is, I mentioned in my piece, or I mentioned earlier how, when I first saw this, I thought, oh, surely this is a joke. Like, she's going to talk about how it's annoying that we all, eat salad and no one really enjoys it. And that would be funny, right? There could be some funny parts about that. But she was so earnest. She was so earnest in this piece, and she really, really thinks there's a problem. And she did. She quoted some experts, some nutritionists, some people. That's the thing that made it so annoying, was that the woman has no sense of humor and doesn't see the absurdity in what she's proposing here.
And as you say, which, by the way, probably made the piece actually a lot funnier than if she had written it intentionally to be funny.
Maybe.
But look, as you say, and this goes beyond feminism. there are, I think, broad swaths of society who would rather focus on the first world problems, hashtag, than the actual real problems that
Right.
that people around the world are facing. And it's easy, and it's very clickbaity. And
Right.
I'm sure, in a way, the author of this piece was excited that you wrote a piece at Acculturated, mocking this because people are going to click and more page views, right? And that's, I think, a big part of the problem is that we need to get beyond this sort of clickbait media that we're in right now. And we actually need to be paying attention to the important stuff out there. There is so much frippery, that people are writing every day. And meanwhile, hugely important stories like what you talk about, leading off your piece at Acculturated. During New Year's Eve celebrations, for instance, in Bangalore, India, several women reported being groped and molested by what was described by another publication as, quote, unruly men and hooligans in the garb of revelers. Did I just see a story out of Turkey? There was a guide for women who had been abused by their husbands, and it was basically dress sexy and, try to make them happy. And that was their advice in this manual for women who had been physically abused by their husbands. I think that's a bigger problem than salad,
right?
And I think most people would think that's a bigger problem than salad. So we got to get beyond the fluff. It needs to be okay to actually explore these serious topics, I think, rather than look for the clickbait.
Look, I mean, you look at the early suffragette movement. I mean, these women had substantial battles to wage, and some real serious problems to overcome, and many women, including all the women at IWF, admire those movements and there are many parts of the early feminist movement but we have become, it's like anything, you just you forget what it was like. I think I talk about this all the time in health and wellness issues. I mean, vaccinations, right? Suddenly there's this anti-vax movement because everybody forgets what it's like to have their friends in an iron lung. So, I mean, we live in really good times, and that's sort of part of the problem with that is that it tends to make people focus on very silly things. So I hope maybe 2000. What am I saying? I was going to say maybe 2017 people will start focusing on more important things, but that's not going to happen. Let's get real. Let's get real. So that's that's a problem with modern times. It just is.
Julie Gunlock, listen, I appreciate you joining us each and every week discussing the problems with modern times, and we have a brand new bespoke parenting hour podcast that's available at iwf.org. We'll be having another one up very soon as well. So I look forward to talking to you again very soon, Julie.
Great. Thanks for having me on.
You're welcome. In the meantime, enjoy that rabbit food for lunch. I'm going to have some bacon.
So hungry. Always.
Julie Gunlock with us here on Cam & Company.